Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacarya Shila Astuta. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Yamuna Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. All glories to the simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, O Goshisha Prabhupada. Panchakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So, Hare Krishna, good morning and thank you all for coming. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, which is entitled Description of the Kingdom of God, and we are reading text 30. Tan vikshya vata rasanam chatura kumaran Vedan dasharda vayaso viditatma tattvan Vetrena jakhalaya tam atad arhanam stau Tejo vihasya bhagavat pratikula shilo Tan vikshya vata rasanam chaturat kumaran Vedanda sharda vayaso viditatma tattvan Petrena chakalayatam atad arhanam sto Tejo vihasya bhagava pratikula shilo Please chant. Tam vikshya vata rashanam chatura kumaran Vedanda sharda vayaso viditatma tattvan Vetreya chaskalayatama tad arhanam sto Tejo bihasya bhagava pratikula shilo Tan vikshya vata rasanam chatura kumaran Vedanda sharda vayaso viditatma tattvan Vetrena chaskalayatam adad arhanam sto Tejo vihasya bhagava pratikula shilo Ladies. Tan vikshya vata rashanam chatura kumaran Vedanda sharada viditatma tattvan Vetrena chaskalayatama tad arhanam sto Tejo vihasya bhagavat pratikula shilo. Anyone else? Tan vikshya vatarasanam chatura kumaran. Vedanta Sharda Payaso Viditatma Tattvan. Petrena Chaskalayatam Atad Arhanam Sto. Tejo Vihasya Bhagavat Kulashilo. Word for word, Tan, them, Viksha, after seeing, Vatarashanan, naked, Chaturaha, four, Kumaran, boys, Vridan, aged, Dasha Arda, 5 years, Vayasaha, appearing as of age. Vidita had realized Atma Tattvan, the truth of the self. Vetrena, with their staffs. Cha, also. Askalayatam, forbade. Atat Arhanan, not deserving such from them. Though those two porters, Tejaha, glories, Vihasya, disregarding the etiquette, Bhagavat Pratikula Shilo, having a nature displeasing to the Lord. Translation. The 4 boy sages who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. Please repeat. The 4 boy sages who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The 4 sages were the firstborn sons of Brahma. Therefore, all other living entities, including Lord Shiva, are born later and are therefore younger than the 4 Kumaras. Although they looked like 5-year-old boys and traveled naked, the Kumaras were older than all other living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. Such saints were not to be forbidden to enter the kingdom of Vaikuntha, but by chance the doormen objected to their entrance. This was not fitting. The Lord is always anxious to serve sages like the Kumaras. But in spite of knowing this fact, the doorman astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padar Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Krishna Samhita Namini. Namo Om Vishnu Padar Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Samhita Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurajanini Devi Shesha Shrunivadi. So I seek the blessings from all the devotees that I can speak something that will be beneficial for all of us, and especially for myself. I'm speaking for my self-purification, and I'll try to repeat whatever I've heard and read from Srila Prabhupada's books and from his followers. So the main point that I got from this verse is Vaishnava etiquette, which is the ornament of a devotee. So in this case, we hear that the 4 Kumaras were only 5 years old, but they were the oldest. So, and then we hear from Prabhupada's teachings on Vaishnava etiquette, these descriptions in the Nectar of Devotion, and many of his disciples, especially Bhakti Charu Swami, has done some workshops and courses on Vaishnava etiquette. So the etiquette can be observed in many different ways. One is by age. If someone is older and someone comes to the temple, we show them all respect. And another form of Vaishnava etiquette and respect is given to someone who's older in practice of devotional life. So we hear from the Prabhupada disciples how some of them were initiated maybe a few days before another disciple, and they gave honor to that disciple, the god brother or god sister who got initiated before them. And we also hear of one, I think it was in Japan, where Prabhupada, they were doing Vyasa Puja, and then the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were coming to offer homages or flowers, and then Prabhupada instructed them that the one who got initiated first, the disciples need to observe the etiquette, so they need to give honor and respect to the ones that were initiated prior to them and allow them to offer their homages to Prabhupada with the flowers. So we also learn here, Krishna Rupa Mataji has conducted, I think, a couple of courses, maybe more, on Vaishnava etiquette, where we learn that when there's a senior devotee or Prabhupada disciple, then we give them due respect, and they offer the flowers first to Prabhupada, and then we all follow. Just like when we get the lamp, we offer the lamp first to the senior most devotee there. Of course, sometimes it's not really practical to do that, but we try to do it as much as possible. So how is that applicable to us in this day and age, especially living at New Govardhan and living in this age where it's a bit different dynamic to Prabhupada's time? Because we're trying to also do preaching, we're trying to bring other people to Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we see somewhat so-called transgression of etiquette because they don't have the knowledge and understanding. So in that case, we know that they don't have that knowledge, and we just leave it as it is. Just like sometimes visitors come to the temple and they're putting the writings of the verses on the floor. So we have to, it depends on time, place, and circumstances. We have to see if we can just maybe take it and put it on the mat, or at a later time in privacy, just explain to them. So there's, depends also, we have to become expert preachers or be able to share Krishna consciousness very mindfully and very carefully. Just like Narad Muni, he used different strategies for different people based on their level of Krishna consciousness. Like Magrari the hunter, he told him that don't half kill the animals, kill them fully. So one would question why a great sage is instructing a hunter to half kill the animals. So he's seeing where the person is at and then gradually increasing their consciousness. When they're able to surrender, they are able to also, the mercy flows more when they slowly open up and then they gradually become purified. And we hear that Magrari the hunter, who used to half kill animals and enjoy killing them, he came to that point of Krishna consciousness that he wouldn't even step on an ant. So we need to become expert like Narad Muni, and we need to be very mindful of when new people come, that we can't just shove the etiquette down their throat. They will see and they will observe, and if they're very sincere, they will observe the other devotees, how they are behaving, and by reading Prabhupada's books, they will understand, and they may question that why we're doing this. And for all of us in Krishna consciousness, we need to understand that we need to always be conscious of what we're doing and always be introspective. When I come in the temple room, I'm bowing down and I'm saying the pranam mantras or the obeisances of my spiritual master and to Prabhupada to show honor and respect. So it's not just that we putting our head on the floor and getting up. There's a consciousness behind every activity that we do. And if we don't understand something, then it behooves us to ask and inquire why we're doing what we are doing. Others, it will become like blind following. And there's no benefit in the blind following, because we may end up committing offenses and leaving. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentions there that when the porters, or Jaya and Vijaya, the two guards at Vaikuntha, they were aware, it says that in spite of knowing this fact that the sages were great saints and devotees, they astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering. So this is an indication that they were the guards, and of course we understand on a higher level that this is a pastime, but for external purposes, the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, there are lessons to be learned for us, because, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is representing the conditioned living entities, all of us, and he was put under illusion by Krishna's Yogamaya potency, even though he's a pure devotee of the Lord. So similarly, these pastimes in the Bhagavatam, we hear of great personalities, and we shouldn't judge them, but we take the lesson for us, how we should apply this Krishna consciousness, and always understand that this is also Krishna's internal pastime, and we need to be careful that we don't judge also Jaya and Vijaya as the gods. So we need to be very careful of this point of pride, because when they transgressed Vaishnava etiquette, and it says pratikula shilo, which is having a nature displeasing to the Lord, there's an indication there that they developed pride. Because if someone is humble, they would be always respectful to others. And even though they don't understand what is happening, they will inquire respectfully the purpose and why they want to come. They would have done that. So we have a saying in English called, which says, pride comes before the fall. And we see literally that Jaya and Vijaya, the guards, the porters at the gates of Vaikuntha, they literally fell down due to this pride. In Bhagavad Gita 1867 purport, Prabhupada mentions there that persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have not tended to a pure devotee. So the austerities of religious process is also giving respect to others. It is an austerity to give respect to others, because when we come in the material world, we want to be the center and the enjoyer of everything, and we want everyone to show us honor and respect. But actually, it's a austerity, and we find that as we practice, it's a loving austerity, because when we show respect to devotees, we develop affection for them, and there's a loving exchange that goes on. So there's a few examples from Bhagavatam where the mercy is withdrawn from someone who doesn't follow the Vaishnava etiquette. So Jaya and Vijaya, because they didn't follow that Vaishnava etiquette, that behavior was very displeasing to the Lord. and thus they fell down. That's Pratikula Shilo. So some examples of Bhagavatam is from Canto 6, which is entitled Prescribed Duties for Mankind, and the chapter is chapter 7, entitled Indra Offends His Spiritual Master. So Brihaspati is his spiritual master. So once in the court of Lord Indra in the heavenly planet, all the demigods, they were honoring Indra and they were glorifying him. And Brihaspati, who is the priest and the spiritual master of the demigods, he entered. But Indra was so caught up in this receiving this glorification, he became proud of this honor, and he didn't acknowledge his spiritual master. And then Brihaspati, he just left. And in that purport, in that description in chapter 7, in the beginning, it gives a summary of the chapter. It says there that Brihaspati, that's his spiritual master, he left the assembly to teach him a lesson. So as many parents would understand that when children do something, there has to be some consequence, otherwise how will they learn? So that is a loving exchange. People think that we shouldn't punish and we should do everything lovingly. But correcting someone is also an act of love, otherwise they won't learn. And sometimes we have to see the nature of that person, because some personalities, some children, they really need to have strong boundaries so that they don't do the negative behavior. So Brihaspati, he left that assembly to teach Indra a lesson, that to disrespect a great personality, there's consequences for it. So we may question that if Brihaspati is the spiritual master, why is he wanting honor for himself? But we need to understand that just like every morning we are singing Guru Puja to the spiritual master, and Prabhupada even introduced it while he was alive. Is it that he was so proud that he wanted honor for himself? No, he was not at all. He was showing us that by approaching a pure devotee of the Lord, who is very dear to the Lord, then Krishna is pleased. So the mood of the person who is receiving that honor and respect, like Prabhupada and the spiritual masters, when we do Guru Puja, and on the Abhyasa Puja day, is that they are receiving that honor and that love and respect, and then passing it on to their spiritual master. It's like Prabhupada is passing it on to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and all the previous acharyas, and then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is passing it on to his spiritual master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and then Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and then it goes up, and all that honor and respect is given to Krishna, because a pure devotee of the Lord understands that this honor, just like the abilities that man gets, it's like the borrowed plumes on feathers of the bird, that these gifts are given by the Lord and the empowerment is given by the Lord, and therefore I offer that results of that honor back to the Lord, and that I am just trying to serve the Lord and his dear devotees out of love and affection. So the result of that offense of Indra was that he lost, the demons conquered over the heavenly planets because that mercy was withdrawn. So we can see from that example, even a great personality like Lord Indra, even though he's a Sakama Bhakta, he wants some material opulence in return, he's still considered a devotee. So what can we say of us? And if a devotee of that that stature, who is the Lord of the heavenly planets, that he can also, the mercy can be withdrawn. So we need to understand that even for us, whether we're practicing for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it may be, that we always dependent on the mercy of the Lord and his devotees. I always often, whenever I come across these passages, I remember Kadamba Swami, he was actually sitting here and he was giving class, and he said that I'm the product of the devotee's mercy. So someone of that high position, of that high caliber, their mood is that they are humble servants of the Lord. So when they receive honor, they are not accepting it for themselves. And another example, this same Lord Indra, he was once riding on his elephant. Who knows the name of the elephant? Govinda, do you know the elephant? Oh, Seva knows? He's shy. So his name was Airavata. And he was riding on the road on the back of Airavata, and Durvasa Muni happened to be there, and he was pleased to offer a garland that he was wearing himself to Airavata. To Lord Indra. And then Indra was so proud that he didn't really honor that prasadam from Durvasa Muni. He just put it on the trunk of his elephant, and because his elephant carrier, he's just an animal, he didn't understand the value of that garland, and he put it between his legs and he smashed it. So this act was very disrespectful and very insulting behavior. And then Durvasa Muni became angry and he cursed Indra to become poverty-stricken and bereft of material opulence. So there's different gradations of devotees as well. In this case, Durvasa Muni, there was some sense of also maybe wanting some honor for himself. But externally, we can see this example that we shouldn't disrespect great personalities, and there are consequences. And then as a result of that, again, there's a pastime where the demons also took over the Bali Maharaj, he took over the heavenly planets. So from these two pastimes, we can tell that material opulence is a very risky business. Prabhupada mentions there in Srimad Bhagavatam 8.5, 15-16, that when someone gets material opulence, they become pride, and there's a great risk of getting caught up and becoming intoxicated with this opulence. And then when one is intoxicated by this opulence, then they disregard etiquette and respect, and they don't show due respect to great personalities, even though they may appear to be of less material opulence than themselves. In that purport, it says there that when one is materially opulent, he should learn to be sober and well-behaved towards Vaishnavas and saintly persons, otherwise he will fall down. So we also hear of examples where someone who was materially very opulent but didn't fall down because he understood that he was very sober and very well-behaved. There are many personalities, but there's one personality in particular who I'm thinking of, and he was a great king. Does anyone know or would like to mention? Yes, he was also a great king. In this case, Bali Maharaj Govinda is the one who took over Indra's planet when Durvasa Muni cursed him. So that great devotee who was very sober and well-behaved is Ambarish Maharaj. So Ambarish Maharaj, we heard a few days ago, Shanti Prabhu was talking about how Ambarish Maharaj was observing the fast for 1 year, and he wanted to break it on Dwadasi, and then Durvasa Muni came, and Ambarish Maharaj had to break the fast. So he asked his assembly of sages and in the court, because he's a great king, that I don't want to break the religious principles, at the same time I don't want to commit offenses to a great devotee, so what should I do? So from this example, we can also see that if one has that internal mood of always understanding, I am a servant of the Lord, I am the servant of a devotee, even though circumstances may come up, and we may not always be able to observe the Vaishnava etiquette fully, or there's some reasoning behind a certain behavior, it will always result in the victory of the devotee because it's done with the proper mood and understanding. So Ambrish Maharaj, he broke the fast by drinking water, and when Durvasa Muni came back, then he became offended because we don't eat or we don't break our fast before feeding great sages and saintly persons. We feed them first and then we honor prasadam. So this is another example of the tables turned, where Durvasa Muni is the one who is punished by Lord Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra, Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra, and then finally even Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu can't stop the Sudarshan Chakra, and he begs forgiveness from Ambrish Maharaj. And then we also have another lesson we learn from Ambrish Maharaj, that he never took any disrespect, or he never took it as a disrespect from Durvasa Muni, even though he created a great demon to try to destroy Ambrish Maharaj. On his part, he didn't see any disrespect done to himself by Durvasa Muni, and he embraced Durvasa Muni. So we need to always be mindful of following this Vaishnava etiquette, and especially this day and age, new people also come. So to understand that we follow and we try to do our best, and when the new people come, new devotees, then if they are really sincere, they'll inquire, they'll observe, and then they'll inquire, what is the reason why you're doing this activity? So not that they just blindly do as you do, but then understand the consciousness behind an activity. For all of us, whether we're practicing for some time or coming new to the movement, we need to always understand why we're doing something, and then it will be more ingrained and it will really stay in our heart and our mind, and then we'll do everything with that consciousness. So even though in the material world it's not foolproof, there's always some fault. Just like in Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned that where there's fire, there's smoke, and there's all these faults there. There's no perfection in the material world. But if we do things with the right intention of pleasing Guru and Gauranga and Krishna, then all the faults will be nullified. And I just wanted to also mention one other example which is slightly related to this etiquette, is when Shanti Prabhu also mentioned this example, is Brikasura. He was a great demon and he wanted some material opulence, and Lord Shiva appeared to him and gave him the benediction, because Brikasura wanted the benediction that whoever's head he touches will fall down. So this arrogant Brikasura, he actually, when he actually wanted to destroy Lord Shiva, the hand that feeds the mouth, the one who gave him the benediction, he wanted to take that, he wanted to destroy him. So we need to also understand, Prabhupada once gave the example, he was climbing up a hill or a mountain, and then one disciple took his hand and helped him, and then Prabhupada roughly pushed him aside, and then that devotee was taken aback. So there was a lesson in there. Prabhupada said it's just like, when the spiritual master takes you up and then you think, now I know better, I don't need the spiritual master and I am an authority on myself. So there's all these lessons that we need to learn, that when we also we progress in our Krishna consciousness, that we need to respect and honor and the ones who have helped us on our journey, even though that person may surpass the one who helped them, always observing this Vaishnava etiquette. And also understanding that humble menial service is for all of us. No matter how many years we are in Krishna consciousness, we see the example of Narottam Das Thakur, that his spiritual master, is it Lokanath Swami? He wanted initiation, and he would go in the fields, and after Lokanath Swami left, he would clean up the stool there. So someone of such a high caliber, materially and spiritually, very highly educated, spiritually very, very elevated and humble, didn't shy away from humble menial service. And even a great personality like Amrish Maharaj, he was a great king, emperor of the whole world, and he would use his body for the service of the Lord. He would cleanse the temple of the Lord, who had so many servants, but himself, he would come and cleanse the temple of the Lord. Because he understood that all this opulence, he didn't become puffed up, because he understood that this is all temporary and I'm using it in Krishna's and the devotee's service. So that is, there's just a few important points on Vaishnava etiquette and how we can apply it today according to time, place and circumstances. And the key element is that internal mood that we need to develop. And so even if there's some external fault in it, it will be eventually rectified and everything will be successful for all involved. So I'll end there. I'll just read the translation again. The 4 boy sages, who had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere, looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. So if anyone has any questions, corrections. Krishna Bhavana can go after, maybe. Yeah.
Thanks for the class, Vaishnavi. I was going to ask, because I don't know, why specifically do we offer a lamp, a flower, and incense? Like, is there a deeper meaning of why them specific items? And do they also offer them to Krishna in Vrindavan, in the spiritual world?
Yes. We hear the pastimes also in that they are, the gopis are offering the arti to Krishna and Radharani. So the significance, I was listening to a class recently by S.P. Keshava Swami, and he was saying that these offerings that we're making, everything belongs to Krishna anyway. So what can we offer him when everything belongs to him? But the example is given just on a side before I continue is just like a child. The father buys him all the sweets and everything, and the child sucks on that lolly, and then when he sees the father, he takes it out of his mouth and offers it back to the father. So the father doesn't say, "Oh, I don't want this. I bought it with my own money. I don't need this." He's accepting the loving affection that the child is giving. So these items that we offer to the Lord, S.P. Keshava Swami was saying that these are the elements of the earth, water, fire, ether, like that, and we're offering it back to the Lord and his representatives. So the lamp is representing illumination. Yeah. So all these elements, we are offering it back to the Lord. Yeah.
Thanks. Just a little comment on Vaishnava etiquette. As you were saying, menial service helps, even Maharaj Ambarish, as you said, Narottam Das Thakur. Because to enter those gates of Vaikuntha, we need humility, right? Is that what you said? I think you mentioned that. So that's the point of Vaishnava etiquette, is to make us humble. We have to, even if you don't feel it in the beginning, you have to keep offering obeisances, keep trying to respect the seniors. Eventually, you chanting, your heart becomes purified. And then you actually start to revere these wonderful Vaishnavas, truly. And that makes you more humble, feeling how insignificant we actually are in comparison to everything they've offered to Krishna and Prabhupada. And that actually lets us enter Vaikuntha then, otherwise. Without dainya, right? The 6, I think Sita was talking about it a few days ago. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions 6, is it like the things you need, starting with, I think in Sharanagati, for surrender, the 6 items for surrender. And humility is definitely So yeah, that's why we have to really try to practice the Vaishnava etiquette and perform menial service at the same time.
Thank you so much.
That's,
Yeah,
I
for
was just thinking-
highlighting that.
Yeah. And one more
Yes.
thing about the lamp that Lucas said was, it mentions even if you just watch the pujari offer that lamp to Krishna, you get the same benefit. So all of those items, every time somebody's worshiping Krishna, you can take part just mentally. And you can imagine back in the day there was no electricity. So the only way you got to see the Lord early in the morning is if that lamp was surrounding him. Just imagine that beautiful vision. Even in South India these days you go, they don't have electricity inside the inner sanctum, sanctorium. They don't have electricity, they just have lamps. And when they're offering these big lamps to the Lord, you get to see his whole body illuminated. Very, very beautiful. That's one of the, like she said, it represents illumination and also represents like burning up sinful activities from millions of births. So, I mean, yeah, that's one of the visions that immediately came to my mind when you said, why do we offer the lamp? Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that beautiful visual of the lamp illuminating the beautiful form of the Lord. Yeah, what you mentioned also is that, I remember that one pastime, Garga Muni, Prabhu, before he took initiation of Prabhupada, he didn't feel like bowing down, and he told Prabhupada, I don't feel like bowing down, and Prabhupada says, bow down anyway, then you'll feel like it. So, because we understand, it's not that we blindly follow. If something is right, and we also hear from others that we respect, something is right, reading from the Shastra, then why not do it? Of course, if something, even though we don't feel it, it's not exactly blind following, because we know that is the right thing to do. So just one point also on Vaishnava etiquette that I wanted to mention is that now that we also have a lot of preaching, like they have the Bhakti House in New York, and we have Krishna Village, and we have Krishna Pad, and we have all these facilities. So also understanding the Vaishnava etiquette in that is just like in a family, you have like in a village, they grow up and they have the village elders and the grandfathers, and then they have the children. So sometimes the children, they're teasing the grandfather, but it's not that they also, or they sometimes run and take something before the grandfather takes. So when we look into it with the microscope, or look into it more deeply than just externally, we see that there's a loving exchange going on there. That's why that right is there for that young child to actually go before the honor is received by the elder. So we need to understand the internal mood. Just like I was listening to a class recently, S.P. Keshava Swami was saying that, no, actually it was Sri Pallab Prabhu. He said that he was visiting one place recently, he was in America, and he was talking to one disciple who was a servant of his spiritual master, and that he said that sometimes I was telling my spiritual master he shouldn't take on more programs, he needs to look after his health, he's getting older, that. So he said from that he understood that the spiritual master was listening to the disciple, because that years of loving exchange, that service, earned him that right to also take that higher position. So sometimes here we come and devotees are encouraged that, okay, you can lead Guru Puja, or maybe you can do the Aarti. So always understanding for ourselves that I need to observe the proper etiquette. So externally it may not seem, but there's always an internal reasoning. So even though if the mood is right, then everything else will be right, even though externally it may appear, like the example of the village elders or the grandparents with the grandchildren. So thank you very much. If there's nothing else, we'll end there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.